regulatory authority decided to fine them $100 million and to penalize them by not allowing them to take part in the Formula races this year, Formula One. So that shows how much of power is there with information. Political leaders use this power in various ways. Industrial espionage takes place in order to get information from others. But other people, you and I probably who are ethical, will use the information in whatever way possible. And the greatest tool in modern information technology for information, of course, is the internet. In fact, when I asked Daya how he keeps updated with modern technology in the computer field, first he said through the internet, and then he said he visits other countries regularly. So information and internet are probably very closely tied up. In fact, children now probably have more information than their parents, because anytime they want information, they don't come to the parents. They browse the internet and they can get the information. So they are probably more knowledgeable, more informed than you are. And of course, communication. Those days, people were talking in terms of political ideology of the haves and the have-nots, the poor people and the rich people. But now literally the world is talking of the knows and know-nots, those who know how to use a computer effectively and those who don't know. Because definitely there will be a big gap between those who know and those who don't know. Unfortunately, Sri Lanka entered into this information wave rather late, but I believe we are catching up, and people like Mr. Hettiarachchi in the private sector, there are many others I must admit, are involved in providing the knowledge that makes people know a computer and therefore have the advantage. Let's digress for a moment. I am quoting from a book called Big Idea, which I picked up. It's not available in Sri Lanka, in England. This is an interesting book called The Big Idea. And it says at the back cover, I don't want to tell all the companies, what do these organizations have in common? Amazon, Apple, I'll leave out some, Coca-Cola, Dell, Guardian, Hewlett-Packard, McKinsey, Microsoft, Nike, Nokia, Orange, Sony, Southwest Airlines. A big idea. This talks about the big ideas that made companies real winners in the past and will make them winners in the future. Just quoting from the company, it says, on the outskirts of a northern industrial city in Britain stands a huge grey high-tech shed. They call it a shed. Of course, these are out of date now. So I may be talking something out of date because every day things are getting out of date. This was published in 2001. It looks like a small airport terminal, but there is no name on it. It's anonymous and slightly forbidding. Around the site, there is a tall fence. You can drive up to it. There's no people around. You press a button, and then you are asked to come in. Inside the church, there's a different world. It is a vast space populated by 1,000 or more people working at desks. Most of them are busy on the phone. It is all people. There is no cash. There are no walls. There are no checks, not even checks. Yet it is a bank. Now this is supposed to be, I don't know whether it's still in existence, called the First Direct Bank. At that time, the world's pioneer in telephone banking. First Direct matters. It is a small bank with around 1 million customers, but it is emblematic of a much larger social shift. Behind First Direct, there is a compelling story, an even more exclusive question. The compelling story is about what the bank has achieved. 10 years ago, First Direct had a simple, but at that time, revolutionary idea. That time, now it's not so. Banking to suit the customer. A bank that was open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. A bank that if it made a mistake, would sort the thing out quickly and even compensate you without you having to ask for compensation. A bank that because it had no branches was much cheaper to run. Everything was at the center. a bank that would not charge you for running your account. And above all, a bank that says that the heart of banking isn't check processing or bullion handling or loan approving. It is managing relationships with customers. I think heart of any business, especially marketing, is managing relationships with customers. But now, even First Bank at that time in 2001 faces an explosive question. If customers, they have got used to the excellent customer relationship, but they want something more. Customers now are so sophisticated. There are so many people throwing ideas at them. I have read somewhere else a book where they talk of not the satisfied customer or the delighted customer, but the never satisfied customer. Now customers are so sophisticated, even in a small developing country like Sri Lanka, that they are never satisfied with what you give them. They always want something more. Like Oliver Twist, they are asking for more all the time. So they have this question they are facing, what next? It's a question that sooner or later every other organization will have to confront. Once you have achieved high quality in your products or excellent standing in your customer service, where do you go next? And it has it's more than just a question. It is the whole climate. It's a predominant mood, they say, in the 21st century. It is coming now to Sri Lanka, but at the beginning of the 21st century, with the information revolution making inroads, customers are getting more, being offered more, and yet asking for more. And they are impatient with the status quo. They want to pursue the next level. And that's how big ideas have made companies completely change. New ideas, big ideas, and of course you have heard of the expression, thinking out of the box. And now some people say, if you create your own new box, don't even think out of the box. Think completely new. And it is those people, like the people here, I believe, especially your programmers, who can by being creative, by being innovative, by changing, sometimes even ahead of what the customer really needs, that makes your company or any company that much more competitive. In fact, probably if you look at the mobile phone technology, they are giving you more than what you really need. Nokia is always putting out a new solution every 6 months. They make their own mobile phone obsolete. Japanese were famous for that. They would make their own electronics inventions obsolete by giving something new to the customer. So there is no question that so sooner or later, I think every organization, although you might feel that you have reached a level of excellence, excellence is never achievable. There is always something more to achieve. You can remember the famous book In Search of Excellence, where they discuss 4 or 5 companies, IBM being one, most excellent companies in the world at that time. Within 5 years, all those companies fell down from grace. I think it's easiest to fall from grace when you're at the top, because you become complacent. You're the market leader. It's difficult to reach the top, but it's more difficult to maintain that position. Because when you're getting in good revenues, your company is having a good bottom line, and you become complacent. You don't realize that there's a need to change all the time in order to meet the changing environment and the challenge of change. This Sir John Burroughs of British BP is supposed to have stated, there's never been so much emotion in business. Now we always talk of business people being objective and hard-headed and so on. But really, now business has become new ideas, more emotional, coming out with new things that will really hit the market, will emotionally drive customers. He says, we cannot predict the future now. If it's based on economic logic, we can. But it is not. It is to a great extent based on emotional aspects. And therefore, it's almost impossible to predict the future. Then you might ask me, what do we do if you can't predict the future? Some take the path by saying, you create your own future. But we are a small country, but in our own country probably, your company or any company can certainly create its own future. Of course,